Hello and welcome to this special look back at some of our most recent and favourite adventures here on the Travel Show. This week we're on the beautiful island of Bermuda, where a couple of months ago the America's Cup was in full swing. You can see more of that story in a moment, but first, here's a taste of what else is coming up on this week's programme. Yes. Well, we're going to kick off by remembering a trip that Rajan took to Jaffa in Israel back in May, when he met a group of remarkable deaf-blind actors whose performances aren't just entertaining, they're truly inspiring. Enjoy.
Jaffa is one of the world's oldest seaports. So old, they say Jonah embarked from here before being eaten by the whale. But this area also has a reputation for cutting-edge culture, and nowhere pushes theatrical boundaries more than the world-famous Nalagat theatre group, based at this building for a decade now. This is why Nalagat is truly renowned. Powerful, moving performances that via screen supertitles express the inner voices of the actors, most of whom share the same genetic disorder. Usher syndrome means you are deaf from birth and then gradually lose your sight before adulthood. The shows are meticulously organised, with each actor needing their own special cues. Drum beats often provide punctuation, as the actors can feel the vibrations on stage.
So I'm now on my way to interview Jaffa, who is essentially the star of this theatre company. She was in its famous production, Not by Bread Alone, and now she's got her own one-woman show, Say Orange.
Jaffa has been with the company for more than 16 years. She herself is one of 8 siblings, 4 of whom were born with Usher's syndrome. Overcoming audience preconceptions is one of Jaffa's biggest challenges.
They're not understanding how we can communicate by touch. Second thing, how I'm sorting things in my life, I'm dealing with my life.
The production Not by Bread Alone has become their most successful, touring the world to huge acclaim.
The show, it's about the dreams of each of the actors in this. The right to be equal.
We can obviously never totally inhabit the mind of someone who is deaf-blind. But theatre like this, stretched to its limits, provides us with an insight into the thoughts and feelings of a group of people who in previous times would have been unable to communicate with the wider world. But it's more than that. It's quite simply very good drama in its own right.
Rajan meeting the awe-inspiring Nalagat Theatre Company in Israel. Now we've got a couple of films about the impact that the sometimes destructive forces of nature can have on some beautiful places around the world, and how people can turn that story around.
In a moment, we've got that film I made here in Bermuda about what's being done to stop a certain type of fish destroying many of the coral reefs around here. But first, in June, Krista headed to Chile to visit a coastal town which was devastated by a tsunami but has now been reborn.
On the night of the 27th of February 2010, the central coast of Chile was hit by one of the biggest earthquakes ever recorded. The magnitude was 8.8, and the city of Constitución was sitting at the epicenter. About 18 minutes after the earthquake, a massive tsunami engulfed Constitución. More than 500 people lost their lives all over Chile to the earthquake and the tsunami of 2010. This family had made a living from their boats for generations, but they had never experienced a tsunami before. When the earthquake began, they ran to their boats to head into the ocean, trying to escape from collapsing buildings. They didn't know that they were heading straight into the tsunami.
Mi suegro tomó al niño, corrió hacia el río, él subió de lo primero con el niño, las cuerdas se cortaron y se lo llevó primeramente a ellos la corriente. El día domingo encontramos debajo del puente a mi suegro. Tenía la mano así, donde llevaba al niño, y los dientes marcados del niño, porque él murió con él.
After the tsunami, Sophia and her husband found the strength to grow a business with 3 boats that offer visitors tours around this beautiful estuary.
Que pese a todo lo que lo golpeó la vida, entregamos alegría y amor al turista. Y yo manejo este bote, y cuando salgo, la gente no se da cuenta y lo primero que hago, toco esto. Hago así, porque me siento segura, pues. Digo, si un chiquito soportó algo tan grande, ¿por qué yo no voy a ser valiente y enfrentar la vida?
Constitución has not just been rebuilt, but is enjoying a tourism revival.
Rhythm.
Local businesses have popped up trying to draw tourists to the area in new and innovative ways.
Rhythm.
El chileno es muy esforzado y va a poder salir adelante. Poco a poco hemos ido reconstruyendo todo y esto es muestra de que nos estamos poniendo de pie y saliendo adelante.
Rhythm.
The people of Constitución are an inspiration. Not only have they overcome the most unthinkable tragedies, but now they're ready to bring joy to the people who come to visit.
This place is gorgeous, but beneath these beautiful waters, there's a species lurking that is having an absolutely devastating effect on the ecosystem here. It's a creature that is presenting the biggest challenge to marine life in Bermuda.
They're called lionfish. They're striking to look at, but they don't belong in the Atlantic. They're native to the coral reefs of the Pacific Ocean. Scientists reckon they may have ended up in these waters after being released by aquarium owners.
They're extremely gluttonous. They can just overconsume at an exorbitant rate. And the problem with that is that the fish that live in the Atlantic Ocean don't recognize the lionfish as a potential threat.
Experts here believe the only way to control the lionfish population is to cull them.
They are having a huge impact on the ecosystem, and the ecosystem can't evolve fast enough to deal with this new species. And since we put it there, it's our problem to try and control it.
Uniquely, here in Bermuda, these lionfish tend to congregate in very deep waters, so it's really hard for fishermen to catch them in large numbers. But now it's hoped that pioneering technology could provide a more effective answer.
This is one of our prototypes of a robot that we've built to go overboard. You sit down at your computer screen, just like you're playing a game, and you can see through the camera, and you drive it down, you look for a lionfish. With a lionfish between the electrodes, push the stun button, and the lionfish will lock up with the electricity so it can't move, and then you push another button and suck it into the tube and go looking for the next lionfish.
Hunting the lionfish here might seem to go against our usual idea of conservation, which is aimed at preserving rather than destroying marine wildlife. But by controlling the lionfish population now, scientists say that will give the underwater ecosystem a chance to repair, evolve and adapt and remain here for generations to come.
That was me reporting from here in Bermuda back in June, and let's hope that project helps to save the amazing marine life that lives in the oceans around this beautiful island. Now, make sure you stay with us, because coming up next on this special look back here on the Travel Show,
Carmen picks up some tips from one of Hong Kong's most famous Instagrammers.
Oh, that's good.
And Henry joins in a canal cleanup in Bangkok.
Hard work.
Up next on our look back at our recent adventures, here are two of my favourite films this year.
In a moment, Henry heads to Bangkok to see how the city is trying to persuade more tourists back onto its canals by cleaning them up. But first, last month, Rajan travelled through the countries that until the early 1990s made up Yugoslavia and took an epic voyage down the river Sava, the longest river within the Balkans. In the first part of his journey, he followed the river to Slovenia's capital, Ljubljana, to find out why it's been called one of Europe's greenest cities.
The city centre is made up of vast squares lined with Baroque buildings, and the streets are packed with tourists ambling around. But it wasn't always like this. Just over a decade ago, Ljubljana was clogged with traffic, and the city's main piazza was a car park. But in 2006, the city's mayor made the decision to ban cars from the centre. Now the only vehicles allowed are these so-called cavaliers, electric cabs that give free lifts to those with luggage or who need extra help getting around.
If you had to compare how this city looked 10 years ago to now, can you tell me the difference?
Before 10 years, we had here the cars and the buses, not the chairs, not the tables, but that was the parking. Pete gorno, pete gore, pete no? So many owners of pubs and restaurants told me that they will lose the job after we close the city center. But after 2 years, these jobs increased. This black carbon decreased for 70%. And that's the future of our city.
And the children are still following you.
And it's not just kids that are using the car-free streets as a playground. Philip and Blash are ambassadors for the city. They met when one was a juggler and the other a gymnast, and then together became a social media sensation with their urban acrobatic antics.
We try to put Ljubljana on the map in our videos. So you imagine running in a circle or something on the floor, we would run off a building because
And you've done that. You've actually run off a building. Philip and Blash have good reason to keep the city centre, which doubles as their performance space, spick and span. And they've been part of the efforts to keep it that way.
Wow. Thank you.
Once a year we have a big action. The whole Slovenia is cleaned up, and the river Ljubljanica, they have divers, they clean up all the bicycles out.
And you take a big part in that in those campaigns.
Yeah, we try to help. We try because we're kind of strong, so we lift all the heavy stuff, you know, help them to keep it clean and to keep it like on the next level.
Citywide cleanups and specialist waste disposal points helped the capital win the accolade of being Europe's greenest city in 2016. And Philip and Blash are keen to encourage other locals and tourists to see potential in Ljubljana's spruced up streets. And the gymnasts are firm believers that anyone can be taught to do this.
Just change the arms.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, like this. And 3, 2, 1, go! See, I told you it's simple.
Yeah,
you can do it on the arm as well.
My arm, but
yeah, push-ups. 3, 2,
yes.
3, 4.
I don't know how I manage that.
It's so simple.
It's kind of superhuman strength.
First built over 200 years ago, Bangkok's huge network of canals crisscross the city. Over the years, some of the canals, or klongs as they're called here, were filled in, but an extensive system still exists today.
Now these commuter boats quite literally wait for not a single person. You'll see as soon as it docks, everybody leaps for their lives off it. And we're going to be right in the melee here. Of course, people get splashed, maybe even fall into the river itself, the canal. You don't want to go in there. The water is dark, dingy, and very, very smelly.
The pollution is caused by waste from houses, stalls, and restaurants that line the sides of the canal. But now work is underway to clean up the klongs and improve boat services. By doing that, it's hoped more people and tourists will use Bangkok's waterways, and that congestion on the city roads will be reduced. Further down the canal, I see just how much of a challenge is facing the cleaning crews here.
And what they have here is the bamboo booms, which are actually collecting all of the rubbish. Insane, so much polystyrene. There's old teddy bears, mattresses. Have a look at that. So how often do they actually have to take all of this out?
Twice a day.
Twice a day? What are the types of things that wash down? Anything and everything?
Yes. Even the furniture, something like that.
So people just throw couches, refrigerators, whatever they don't want, they just throw into the river.
Time now to get away from the smell and head to one of several canals that has already been cleaned up, where new boat services are already running.
Looks nice from afar. Look at that, seats, not too packed, so that's always good. I've got to say that this is so much more of a calmer way of seeing the city. I don't know if it's the time of evening when it's kind of golden lighted, but it's smooth. There's no sort of smell of that nasty water. And the plus for tourists, there's Wi-Fi, because who can't live without Wi-Fi these days?
Now, we all love taking and sharing photos on our travels, and sites like Instagram have made that an art form in itself. But how do you take the perfect shot that will get you loads of likes and shares? Let's finish this week with Carmen, who's in Hong Kong, getting some tips.
This isn't the usual place that most tourists would take photos in Hong Kong.
No,
Why are we here?
This is very different. These are the back streets of Hong Kong. It's very gritty. It's real life.
I've just got a smartphone. Is this okay for pictures?
Yes, they're great. I started with a smartphone that had much worse quality camera than that. The focal length is fixed, but it makes you choose your composition wisely, but it's a great tool to learn on before you move on to a camera.
As Edward has over 175,000 Instagram followers, I'm in safe hands.
You got some street signs, you got some colour. You captured it all there.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and actually you got most of that because your smartphone's got a wider focal length, so you were able to get more in, whereas I was like packed in quite tight. But I'm happy with some of the sparks that I got flying up there.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Cool.
It looks exciting. I would never think to take a picture of this, right?
There you go. Stick it on Instagram, see what your friends think.
As night falls, we're joined by fellow Instagrammers Jess and Vivian, who also both have big followings here in Hong Kong and around the world. So now, the pressure really is on as I face even more competition from the professionals.
With a smartphone, you just have to use what's around you. Sometimes at night, you can get like that really atmospheric and get a more gritty side.
You know what? Sometimes you just have to be bold and like really put
That's a good tip.
Just stand there and wait. Like patience is everything.
So before I go, I want to get the iconic Hong Kong taxi.
Yes.
Taxi
Everybody
shot
loves a
whizzing
taxi
by
shot.
with neon signs.
Yeah.
How do I do that? With a smartphone?
With a smartphone, it's going to be tough to get that kind of the long exposure that you're looking for. But I honestly think that we can do something slightly different, but I think you're really going to like it. Get ready to get behind this taxi.
All right.
Yeah? Now get out there and go shoot behind the taxi.
Oh, that's good.
Good. Let me see it.
Hold on.
That's excellent. I prefer that one.
You like that one?
Yeah, you've done it.
Could crop that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, well done. You're a Hong Kong photographer now.
Now you're pushing it.
Carmen getting some tips from Hong Kong's King of Instagram back in June. Well, sadly, that's your lot for this week, and I hope you've enjoyed our special look back at the past few months here on The Travel Show. Coming up next week,
we head to Kruševo in Macedonia, a town that is becoming a paradise for those in search of new thrills.
That was amazing! I really want to go up again.
And Krista heads to the Scottish Orkney Islands to help uncover their Neolithic past.
I suppose I'm quite excited because it could be anything right here.
Yes, you just never know.
That's next week, but in the meantime, why not head over to our social media feeds where you can check us out on the road in real time and catch Carmen's Hong Kong pictures too. All the details you need are on the screens right now. But for now, from me, Adia Depitan, and all the Travel Show team here in Bermuda, is goodbye. Have a beautiful day.